Hey there, welcome back to the Temple of the Holy Beard. I'm Pastor Dave. Thanks for tuning in. I'm having a bad camera day here. It just doesn't want to stay stable, so please bear with me. Yep, I've been out for a little while, but I'm trying to get back into making the videos. So I apologize for my absence. Hope you've been watching those other videos that I made though, and staying tuned. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get into why. Anyway, I'm back, and this video is a bit of news that's been going on, something that is big news in the United States, and I'm gonna read an article for you written by Blaze Media, and has excerpts from other media outlets. I'm going to paraphrase, of course, as I normally do, so I'm trying not to make this too long, but I hope you enjoy this, and we'll go from there. Anyway, okay, so this is big news. The Senate, apparently, the Republicans and Democrats came together, which seems to be rare nowadays, and voted to advance a bill that was going to allow same-sex marriages into law. Now, you might think it's already been legal, but it actually hasn't. It just hasn't been illegal. Thing was that more recently, a couple years ago, and this is going to be in here, the Supreme Court ruled that certain local laws that were blocking same-sex marriages were unconstitutional. Couldn't be passed. It was it was discrimination. And so by saying that, the Supreme Court essentially said that it couldn't be outlawed. Outlawing same-sex marriages were discrimination. And so all that did was said that there could not be a law against it, but it did not say that they are legal. There's a difference there. Just because it's not blocked doesn't mean it's actually allowed. Makes sense? So anyway, moving on. This particular bill that they're working on would create a federal law stating that it is okay or is not okay, and they're working to make it okay. So moving on. Excuse me. Okay, so 12 Republicans voting with Democrats, with a vote of 62 to 37 in the Senate. So not a whole lot of people voted on it, considering the amount of people that are actually in the Senate. 400 and something, come to think of it, I believe. So 400 and something people in the Senate, and 62 to 37. So you got 99. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so the Senate advanced this bill they're calling the Respect for Marriage Act, which would repeal what was called the Defense of Marriage Act, and codify into federal law same-sex marriage and interracial marriages. And try not to get ahead of myself. It's all in here. Anyway, bear with me. Congress began working to pass the bill this summer of 2022 after the Supreme Court ruled to overturn Roe v. Wade, which was another one that did not actually change any laws. Anyway, pressure to codify the right to same-sex marriage and interracial marriage was based on unrealistic fear that the Supreme Court may overturn landmark cases that legalized both types of marriage unions. But Justice Samuel Alito, who wrote the opinion overturning Roe v. Wade, made clear the court's ruling would not impact same-sex or interracial marriage. So basically, people were afraid of something that was specifically written in there would not happen. Anyway, Alito wrote, the Solicitor General suggests that overruling Roe and Casey, which was another case, would threaten the protection of other rights under Due Process Clause. The court emphasizes that this decision concerns the constitutional right to abortion and no other right. Nothing in this opinion should be understood to cast doubt on precedences that do not concern abortion. That's what he wrote, overturning Roe v. Wade. Okay, so the House had passed the Respect for Marriage Act in July by a vote of 267 to 157 with the approval of 47 Republicans. Okay, so I guess I got House and Senate backwards earlier. Anyway, sorry about that. Moving on. Okay, so before the bill becomes law, the Senate must formally approve it, send it back to the House for approval on amendments before it can head to the president's desk for final signature. So you might wonder, why did they vote for it? Okay, well, Senator Mitt Romney from Utah, for example, explained he voted for the bill on legal principle, though he personally disagrees with it. He voted for it on legal principles, though he personally disagrees with the same-sex relationships. While he said, quote, "While I believe in traditional marriage, this is and has been the law of the land upon which LGBTQ individuals have relied. The legislation provides certainty to many LGBTQ Americans, and it signals that Congress and I esteem and love all our fellow Americans equally," end quote. Romney also praised the bill's protections of religious liberties. In another statement, Senator Susan Collins from Maine said she supported the bill because it protects against discrimination and strengthens protections for religious liberty. So essentially, this bill is not only saying that same-sex marriages and interracial marriages should be legal, it's also putting additional religious protections on there, which you may or may not be aware that there's such a thing, constitutional separation of church and state. So essentially, the government should not be ruling of what your religious beliefs are or allowed to be. And such, they also should not be passing laws that prevent you from practicing your religious beliefs. But unfortunately, in modern times, they actually have to pass laws that specifically state that, because people aren't able to translate it openly like they used to. Moving on. Senator Susan Collins said, quote, "This bill recognizes the unique and extraordinary importance of marriage on an individual and societal level. It would help promote equality, prevent discrimination, and protect the rights of Americans in same-sex and interracial marriages. It would accomplish these goals while maintaining and indeed strengthening important religious liberty and conscience protections." Flip the page here. End quote. The bill gained significant bipartisan support after a small bipartisan group of senators supported an amendment to protect religious liberties. So basically what this is saying is that we don't all have to agree to the details. You may not agree to same-sex marriages. That's your personal choice. It may be a personal choice. It may be a religious belief. Only you can say which it is. But you don't have to agree to it. To still agree that people should be allowed their personal beliefs. People should be allowed to live a life the way that they want to live, and that is very important, like it or not. Because if you don't believe that those people over there, whoever they may be, should be allowed to live their life and do ABC in their free time, well, do ABC at all, then how would you feel if someone else were to come in and say that you should not be allowed to do XYZ and that should be illegal? Now, the stance of the Holy Beard is that everybody should be allowed to do whatever they feel is right to them, whether it's a hobby or loving a certain type of person, so long as what they're doing is consensual with all involved, nobody's being forced to do it against their will, and it's legal. Of course, although there are some things that people may do because they feel strongly for it. It is a personal belief, it may be a religious belief, and there may be a law against it, but you feel strongly enough that you're willing to break the law and do it. And there have been people doing that, well, since the beginning of time, that they feel as though what they're doing is important to them, that's what they want to do, that's right for them, but somebody made a law against it. So they're willing to break the law to do what they feel is right. And honestly, right or wrong, as long as they're not hurting anybody and they're not forcing anybody to do it against their will, is that a problem? Think about it. Just, rhetorical question. But let me know in the comments what you think. Let me think. Let's get a discussion going here. Moving on. Republican Senator Mike Lee from Utah, an LDS church member, argued on Twitter that the bill before the Senate presented a threat to holding sincere religious beliefs or conviction, calling its religious freedom protections severely anemic. Severely anemic. In other words, he says it doesn't do enough to protect your religious beliefs. He said, I offered to support the bill if the sponsors would include my amendment to prohibit the government from removing tax-exempt status based on religious beliefs about same-sex marriage, for or against it. But the sponsors adamantly refused to even consider that. Why? That's what he said. Why? So they're writing a bill that's saying that it's okay for people to do that, but yet they won't put anything in there protecting the churches that support it. Why is that? It kind of sounds like by them not being willing to add in something in there to protect the people and the organizations that think along those lines, that they might be wanting to do something sneaky on the background to say, well, what if they were to make it legal for these relationships, but then on the back end pass something making it illegal or attacking the organizations that support it. So you can get married, but anybody who marries you is breaking the law, or we're going to do something. How's that? That's not good. So with this Senator Mike Lee from Utah, he wants to see protections put in there. So as it is right now, this bill's kind of done a loop. So apparently it started off in the House, and then it went to the Senate, and then it has to go back to the House, and each step of the way they make amendments. So we can hope, being that it has at least one more place that has to go before it goes to the president, we can hope that not only will they approve the amendments that are in there now, but hopefully they'll also add in these additional amendments to protect. And that's essentially what our government's there for, right? Is to help and protect, defend our freedoms. Okay, so moving on. Again, like I said, the Holy Spirit stance is the government's involvement in marriage is solely from a legal standpoint, and should not be confused with the church position or your personal religious beliefs. The government's stance on that, as far as a marriage standpoint, is just to they should sign off on a contract saying that it's legal, that it's okay, that they're going to tax you as a pair rather than as an individual. That's their standpoint. The protections in the Constitution, separating church and state, is completely there to prevent the government from telling you what you're allowed to believe and what churches are allowed to do. Again, so long as it doesn't hurt anybody. That's where the line is essentially drawn, is if they're doing something that's hurting somebody, like drawing a blank. Anyway, that's where the government should be there to protect people's freedoms, their ability to be themselves and believe what they want to believe, while also protecting people from being forced to do something against their will, or getting hurt. Moving on, though certain government officials can perform legal wedding ceremonies and certify marriage licenses, that has no bearing on the union's protection within any religious group. Should the government attempt to create their ability to approve or deny which marriages can be performed or recognized within a church, that would violate the constitutional separation of church and state. The Holy Beard supports any religious dynamic so long as it is, the Holy Beard supports any relationship dynamic so long as it is between consenting adults. So if consenting adults wish to commit their lives to each other, that's their choice. Temple doesn't particularly care, what your pronouns are, or what your genders are, or gender identities, or anything like that. If you're a good person, you're a good person, and if you want to commit your life to a person, whether it's a heterosexual life partner, or what have you, it doesn't matter. The Holy Beard doesn't care. If you're two people and you want to commit to yourself, whether it's committing to spend your life together as a loving, caring, couple relationship of any type, or if you're just committing to spend your lives together as BFFs, we don't particularly care. So long as it's consensual and you're good people. You you're doing the right thing. You're doing it because you want to. Nobody's being forced to do it against their will. And should anybody change their mind at any point, you should be allowed to walk away. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I want to hear your comments down below. I told you the Holy Beard's beliefs, my personal beliefs mixed in there, as well as the Temple stance, the Temple of the Holy Beard stance. Told you a little bit about the legal aspect, and I told you where this this bill is in the United States government. I think it'll get passed at some point. It just might take a little bit of time going back and forth to polish it up and get to where enough people are comfortable with it. Unfortunately, looking at the count of votes that are on there, it just might pass without all of the protections that everybody may like. In that particular case, there's always the possibility of something being passed in the future to enforce that, or like what we've been seeing a lot of lately is judges do have the ability to speak up. Now, they can't make laws, but what they can do is they can speak up if a law is unconstitutional, and it can also speak up if like I said, you have these protections that are in there, for discrimination and whatnot. And if this bill is passed, becomes a law, and there are aspects in there that allow discrimination in any aspect, then it's just a matter of somebody getting it up in front of the right judge to stand up and support that. So aspects of this can get thrown out by judicial inputs. So anyway, trying not to babble on too long. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I want to hear your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Again, I apologize for not making videos for a long time. I'm going to try to get back into it. Combination of things that are in the news, hot topics, educational, what have you. There's a long list of things that I want to get to. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up like to show your support, and keep tuning in, keep watching. Let's grow this channel and get the word out. I appreciate you tuning in. Again, I'm Pastor Dave from the Temple of the Holy Beard. Stay safe, stay sane, keep watching. Damn it. Stay safe, stay sane, keep learning, and keep watching. Again, thanks again. Pastor Dave out.